Hello, welcome to another video from our series called A Life in Archives. My name is Indy Buller and I work at LSE Library as a curator. We're going to take a look today at a few documents from one of our key archive collections, the papers of William Beveridge. Now, Beveridge has a very close connection to LSE as an institution. He was director of the school for much of the 1920s and 1930s, but we're going to be looking at a few items from later on in his life, from the time when he helped pull together a report which is officially called Social Insurance and Allied Services. It's not the most appealing of names, I'll grant you, but it did have quite the impact after it was released in 1942, and it's still known most widely today by its more familiar name, the Beveridge Report. Well, the report helped to contribute the foundations for much of the legislation which was passed in the 1940s and which formed what we call today the welfare state. We've come downstairs to our store to take a look at a large poster which is a little tricky to manoeuvre around. The poster itself, though, illustrates the key benefits and levels of assistance that Beveridge's report offered the public. These new benefits included payments in the forms of children's allowances, along with improved payments for people who were out of work due to unemployment, illness or disability, and widows' pensions. The report was based on three key principles: children's allowances to ensure the next generation were healthy and well fed, a comprehensive health service to ensure workers were fit and healthy, and full employment so that people could earn money, some of which was then paid into the schemes. This early draft of the report, which was written a year before it was published in 1941, shows that the main principles on which the final report was based were already on Beveridge's mind. Among the most famous elements of the report were the five giants, personifications of the most pressing issues which faced the country: want, squalor, ignorance, idleness and disease. This drawing is from a pamphlet which was produced by the Cadbury brothers and shows the five in action. Beveridge sought to defeat these giants through redeveloped social services, including, most famously, a national health service. The welfare state is often spoken of as a triumph of peacetime. However, Beveridge's blueprint for it was drawn while the world was at war. The proposals which suggested a new society was possible after so much death and destruction found a very willing audience. He even got a telegram inviting him to meet with King George VI at Buckingham Palace. Over 650,000 copies of the report were sold, more than any other government reports to date. It also attracted much press attention both in the UK and worldwide. Beveridge also received letters from members of the public and those involved in the war effort, whether at home or abroad. We have a letter here which Beveridge received from a captain in the British Army who had been fighting in North Africa. It really is a magnificent plan, if I may say so, and all the soldiers with whom I have discussed it have taken a keen interest in the proposals. If only the government at an early stage would announce that they accept your proposals as the basis of their legislative programme, it would do untold good from the morale point of view out here alone. The 1945 general election saw a landslide victory for a Labour Party whose candidates, as this election leaflet shows, promised to implement the Beveridge Report in its entirety. Several Conservative candidates did as well, but despite being led by Winston Churchill, the Conservatives were heavily defeated by Clement Attlee's Labour, as the public put their faith in them to build upon Beveridge's work and introduce the necessary reforms. Beveridge wrote in the report that a revolutionary moment in the world's history is a time for revolutions, not for patching. But Beveridge's final report was something of a revolutionary patchwork that included several schemes and principles that already existed, but which were improved. Beveridge was politically a Liberal Party supporter, and it was the Liberal government of 1906 to 1914 which passed some of the earliest welfare legislation, including the National Insurance Act of 1911, which provided financial support to people who fell into unemployment due to sickness or disability. The Act also included free medical treatment for workers and their families and maternity benefits. They also introduced old age pensions in 1909 for those over 70. The 1942 report kept both of these schemes, but recommendations were made to expand and improve them. 1942 was also not the first time that Beveridge had successfully proposed popular social policy. He had already played a key role in introducing a national system of labour exchanges in 1909, which helped to connect people seeking work with vacancies nationwide. This is a flyer advertising the simplicity of the idea, matching jobs to workers and workers to jobs.